there is something called self-acceptance. Without being aware of that, how do I even begin the journey of self-acceptance? And this is the purpose for doing a show like this, correct, Kyle?
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point that you pointed out. I think maybe we should have done that in the beginning of the session. For everybody to be aware that somewhere we have some lack of self-acceptance within us at whatever level, no matter how successful, how happy we are. Call them skeletons in the closet if you must. But there are things about ourselves that we don't like to accept. And knowing that they are there and it's okay to accept them, it's safe to accept them. It's not judgmental, it's not rejection, it's not, really looking at those feelings of guilt for maybe something we did in the past and we can't accept ourselves for that, to really let go of the guilt now, to let go and forgive ourselves for whatever we've thought were our mistakes or we thought were our failures, to forgive yourself for that, because that is self-acceptance. However harsh it could have been, whatever and whichever way it impacted people around you, to be able to accept that you did that, to take responsibility for it, and to allow yourself to move forward from there and not get stuck in that mud, that sinking mud, and just constantly holding yourself back in something that happened. Just being aware that it did and it's okay, and that I take responsibility for it. I apologize to it. I apologize to myself for it. I apologize to the other person for it. And allowing yourself to just free yourself of that emotional baggage that we are continuously carrying with us. Why have that heaviness within us? Why have that pressure within us? Why have that constant negative energy, just holding on to that negative energy within us? Because what we are is what we attract. So why not be those happy, free, beautiful, brilliant, creative individuals that we're here to be? Because we are unique. Eva, you are unique and I am unique, and you have unique abilities and I have unique abilities. And that's what makes us also beautifully unique. Like, we're 7 billion people, but each of us looks different. Each of us has a different personality. Each of us has different emotions. And why? There's a brilliance in that intelligence. So why not even accept that brilliant intelligence that is there within me, to know that I am worthy. That's why I'm here. If I accept who I am, I can move forward with alignment, with living my life the way it's meant to be led, rather than just constantly putting myself down every couple of days, or every time somebody says something to me, I'm taking their truth to be my truth. That all these things happen when I'm not sure about who I am. So knowing that whatever it is I am, with all of the everything, the positive, the negative, the black, the white, the dark, the gray areas, everything together makes me. And this whole is a superb, amazing, intelligent, creative being. And to look at myself that way, and not fragmented into a billion pieces and just not knowing which way to go and what to do with myself. Most people don't know what to do with themselves. They find it difficult, to know what to do with themselves. Like, if you tell somebody just sit with yourself for 15-20 minutes, it's hard for them to do that. You need something to distract you. We're constantly looking for things to distract ourselves from us. Isn't that the irony? Because the whole idea is that I live with myself first. Because if I can live with myself, then I'm living with everything else. But I can't see myself, and so I'm looking at everything else to distract me. And I think that those are my priorities. That's more important. But I've completely forgotten about my priority to myself first. And I forget about that promise that I need to look at myself first. And that isn't from a point of selfishness or being self-absorbed or feeling that, oh no, how can I look at myself? Everybody else also needs me. But you also need you. You also need to be full. Yeah. You also need to be absolutely, like a concrete pillar of happiness within you, of acceptance within you, so that you can be able to perform everything that you're doing outside of you better. And we missed that. We missed the whole crucial step. Like, we missed the whole foundation and decided to go straight to the PhD. And then we're just not living our life because it's not making any sense to us at all. Like, I don't know, like even in schools, you learn everything about success and how successful to be, but they don't teach children failure. How do I deal with failure? Yeah. How do I deal with me not having gotten into that school or passed that exam? It's not taught. So from that moment onwards, only self-acceptance is not coming in, right? Because I can't accept myself for having failed. or not been good enough, or whatever it may be that comes up.
The whole world is, geared towards that, just criticizing. So, why not you be kind to yourself, love yourself, accept yourself, build that strong foundation so that that cup that you are pouring from never runs empty. Those are your words, Payal.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's true. And how do you do that, Eva? How do you do that? Exactly this. How do I do it? So I know that this is the ideal answer, but how do I bring myself to do it? It's by starting and understanding that I am the healer of my own life first. Okay, at some point we need like professional help or whatever eventually, or people have different stages at where they're at. But know that you are your own healer first. You have the power within you to heal yourself first, with self-acceptance, with self-love, with addressing what is that feeling of rejection, what is that feeling of guilt, what is that feeling of denial, what is that feeling of shame. This exaggerated feeling of shame that we constantly have within ourselves. Bring love and acceptance to that. Understand whatever it was at that moment, and we have to move on from there. Dissolve it with your own love. All of those feelings that we're constantly holding within us of self-rejection and denial. Start with yourself first, because you are the creator of you, and you are the destroyer of you as well. So what is it that you want to choose? What is it that you want to live your life by? It's easy to be the destroyer. It's so easy to have a billion negative thoughts in your mind about everything that you've done wrong. I can come up with 25 right now. If you ask me, Payal, what are the 10 things or 5 things that you've done good? It would take me a little span, a fraction of a second to think what the positives are, but the negatives would just flow out from my mind immediately. I would be able to give you such a long list. And that's how we're wired. So it takes work. So this is not self-acceptance is not innate. It's not an innate quality within us. It is about working at it in the way of being aware of it and knowing that with practice, with constantly reminding myself that I don't need to treat myself this way. I don't need to treat myself with no respect. Understanding that self-acceptance is self-respect. I'm respecting and accepting wholeheartedly everything of who I am and what I am. So there's a fine line here. I can also turn around and say, okay, so now she's telling me to accept myself and love myself, and I am the way I am. And then I just have to accept everything. It's a very easy way out, right? You could just say that way also. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm very, very empathetically saying it is accepting, but also knowing that there is always till our dying day scope for improvement of who we are. So being committed to a lifetime of personal growth, that is very important. So I'm not just going to, lie back and say, okay, now Payal said, self-acceptance at school. I'm great where I am. I don't need to do anything further. I got this. I'm great. I passed the self-acceptance video. No, it is about the hard work and knowing where you are at, where you would like to be, and doing that journey with love and acceptance, not doing the journey with constant self-rejection, constant feeling of failure, constant reassuring yourself that you're a failure. It's not that. So Eva, I wanted to say that our identity is hardly equaling our mistakes. Again, this comes back to that one mistake that I may have made, or that one thing which I have not achieved does not make me everything that I am. It doesn't make me a complete failure, doesn't make me a complete loser. It's all about accepting who I am as I am, the way I am. Honestly speaking, we are such collectors of our shortcomings and just not of our strengths. We love to collect our shortcomings. We're constantly, it's like literally like it's a cup which never gets filled when we have to fill it with shortcomings. And when we have to really think about our strengths, we're finding it so difficult to fill even quarter of the cup. So start focusing on strengths. Each of us has, even if it's one, each of us has one strength. Start focusing on that one strength. And from there, you'll be able to see what your other strengths are, what you believe your other strengths to be. So start focusing on strengths, not focusing on your shortcomings, and see the way your cup changes.
How do we practice self-acceptance? What is it that we can do to bring about self-acceptance, within us? So first, of course, it starts with self-compassion, self-love. How do I bring about self-compassion and self-love into me? Write down what are the hardships I have faced in my life. Because every hardship would have taught me something about myself, would have made me see and go back to seeing what my strengths were at that time. How did I manage to come out of that? What is it that I did? So I have that innate ability within me. This was my strength. This was my quality. So writing your list of hardships that you faced in your life, and you yourself will see your journey as to where you've come, and you will be proud of yourself, and you will be able to give yourself a pat on the back if nobody has given you one up to now. So start with that. The other thing that you can also write about is all the goals that you have achieved, accomplished. We all have achieved some goal. It doesn't have to be a list of 100 goals. It can be a list of 4 goals that I've achieved in my entire life so far. And 4 meaningful goals, which have really impacted me, impacted my life in some way. We will all have that, because that is life. It is about the journeys. It is about the goals. It is about, achieving something in ourselves, in our goals. When I've achieved that goal, for me to recognize that I had this innate ability within me to achieve that goal. And that is acceptance of a goal within you. That is your goal, for that self acceptance, to know I had this to allow myself to get this. Because without this important part, I would have not been able to achieve this part. So writing that down for you, for yourself. Again, it will be an eye opener for you as to where you are at and what you've done, with your life. The third thing that you can do is write down the connections that you have made. All of us have made some important connections, be it a school friend, be it a colleague, be it just somebody we've helped, be it a friend's parent, be it anybody across every area of our lives. We have made connections, and to recognize the significance of those connections. Because when I do that, it's a reflection of who I am. My connections around me are a reflection of who I am. The support system around me is a reflection of who I am. I am I am amazing, and therefore I have amazing friends. I am lovable, and therefore I have a lovable family. So come back to the I over here, and not from a point of ego or self-adulation or something, but it's coming back to recognize and respect that I have this because I am this. I have all of this outside of me because I am all of these things inside of me. So to allow yourself to recognize it better for yourself. When you recognize it better for yourself, it's easier for you to accept it for yourself. So that's the third thing. And the fourth and the really important thing is to write all the lives that you have touched for the better. All the lives you have touched for the better. Could have been a word, could have been sending flowers, could have just been there listening, could have been there as a friend, could have been there as a family member, could have been there as a colleague, anything where somebody has said thank you to you for something. And knowing that that is your strength, that is who you are, and accepting that, accepting that for your strength. We're accepting our strengths and our achievements, and we're actually giving ourselves that pat on the back within our hearts, which we haven't done for so long, which we just have forgotten to do. Maybe we did it earlier, maybe at that split moment when I'm getting that trophy or that award or the car, or my wife tells me or my husband tells me that they love you lots. At that moment, I remember it, but then again, it's in a fleeting moment. And then I've forgotten it again. I've forgotten everything about myself again. And I've gone back to people pleasing, or I've gone back to projecting everything outside of me and just not accepting myself for who I am. So these are some of the exercises that can be done, which would be really helpful and useful. I know that it's a lot of writing involved, but I'm sure that everybody has such beautiful lives and, a wonderful journey, that it will really jog your memory to remind yourself of that. Otherwise, usually at the end, when you're on your deathbed or something, you're thinking about your whole life. So this gives you an opportunity to do it now and then live your life differently, so that when you are on your deathbed eventually, you have actually lived so joyfully and happily that you are thrilled with the way your life turned out, and all the acceptance and all the love that you gave yourself, because it changes paths for you when you do that. Your whole perspective to life as on its own and your own self changes so dramatically. So, please try it. It's a lovely exercise. And I've done this for myself and I've seen the difference. It's really opened up my eyes to so many things which I had forgotten that I had done, that I had achieved, that I had overcome. And these really make us who we are. And it's amazing to write it down and see it in front of you and then really recognize and see yourself in a completely different light. So Eva, promise me that even though you have no issues with self-acceptance, you will still do this.
I was just gonna say, I can't wait for me to, just get started on this. I mean, it's gonna be a beautiful exercise. I just like the sound of it already, Payal. Yes, lives touched. Oh my God, Payal, that's something new. I mean, in this context, I mean, you don't put it together, but it makes so much sense that, if you put that together in this, it gives you a whole picture of, how you are as a person. Thank you for that. It's really helpful.
Yeah, because it's
And
important, Eva, because we are not individual, isolated beings. Each of us is here and we're all interconnected with everybody else. So I'm impacting people's lives in a way that I'm not even recognizing that I'm doing. So if I'm not recognizing that, I'm not seeing the value in that. If I'm able to recognize it, I see the value in it. If I see the value in it, I'm able to accept myself better than if I'm not accepting myself at all. So to know that we're not just isolated beings, we're all interconnected. So definitely what I am saying or doing is impacting somebody, is supporting somebody, is encouraging somebody. Maybe I don't even realize, that I'm doing something like that. We never know our words or our actions or anything that we're doing, how it's going to impact somebody at some point. And to really trust that I have a very important, significant role in this universe. And to always remember that. And that brings about a sense of significance. I am significant. I matter. What I say matters. What I do matters. What I live matters. How I live matters. And that I'm living in itself matters. And if I accept myself better, I'm able to be a better person. I'm able to contribute in a better way. I'm in a position to receive better as well. So it's not only about constantly giving, it's also about receiving back into my life, allowing myself to do that. And when I accept myself, I allow myself to do that, because then I know that I'm worthy of something. I'm worthy of this love coming to me. I'm worthy of this respect coming to me. I'm worthy of this interaction coming to me. I'm worthy of it. So Eva, I also wanted to share two more points, which I hadn't brought about earlier, because I would like people to remember this towards the end. The first point is that this isn't about fixing ourselves. Self-acceptance is not about fixing myself. It's not that I need to make myself more acceptable. That isn't what self-acceptance is. It's how I'm looking at it. And if I have to change my mindset, it's more about me making the upgrade that is in my best interest. That is because I love and I accept myself. And and I'm doing that because I'm worthy of it. So when I look at it that way, it's a very different mindset than that of I need to fix myself. Because with the new mindset, I'm actually looking towards respecting myself, honoring myself, and realizing that this is something that I want to do for myself rather than I need to or I have to. Because those are when you feel that you need to or you have to, there's always this pressure point on it. But here I'm actually working from the energy of openness, acceptance, and allowing myself to, because I'm worthy and deserving of it. So that was one point. And the second point is about boundaries and the ability to say no. So we all have so many roles and so many different things that we end up doing when we don't want to do them. And we say yes to, taking on extra work at the workspace, or we're taking on extra responsibilities in the family, for extended family, for friends, for, so many times we're in positions where we just don't want to say yes, and we force ourselves to say yes, because we're always fearful of the rejection that may come from the other person when I'm saying no. So to remind ourselves that every time I am saying yes to somebody when I actually want to say no, is all those times I am saying no to myself, because I am rejecting myself at that point, what I want, what is important to me. And I'm rejecting all of those things to say yes to receive some sort of interest or some sort of giving other people happiness. So remember to set a boundary, set what is acceptable to you, to what extent it is acceptable to you, and knowing that in that acceptance of that boundary, you are bringing about self-acceptance for yourself. So these were the two very important points that I wanted to share also with regard to self-acceptance and being aware of our attitude, mindset, and being aware of the boundaries that we set for ourselves.
So there you have it. That is our series on self-acceptance. I, for one, found it incredibly helpful. Now remember, this show is for you, so please make sure you get back to us with any suggestions, feedback, or questions. And for those of you who are looking to get in touch with Payal for a one-on-one session, her details are provided at the end of every series. Please do join us next week for another edition of the Serenity series. Until then, you take care of yourself. Goodbye for now.